That was Hugo Shu reporting. Vladimir Golstein joining us from the U.S. state of Rhode Island. He's a professor of Russian studies at Brown University. Why don't we start there? Give me your sense of the relationship between Russia and China. Hugo Shu kind of alluding to the fact that these top diplomats talking about a range of issues from Syria to the Korean nuclear issues. I want to get your thoughts.
I think this relationship not only good, they also establishing a paradigm of good relationship between two countries, because as your anchor suggested, your reporter suggested, presidents, leaders meet with each other, foreign ministers meet with each other, meet regularly, discuss things, and try to cooperate on a number of issues without being highly ideological. Each country has its own kind of, values, its own culture, but, there is, they might be different, in one way or another, but there is much more that unites them, including, desire to prosper, desire to make their people feel good, travel, explore. And Russia and China are setting this paradigm of negotiating and bringing people in rather than being hostile. We know in the history of many countries, including Russia and China, there were, hostilities. There were ideological hostilities. There were military, whatever. Now it's all left behind, and they show how sort of things can be done and should be done. On the other end of the spectrum, you're talking about hostilities. Foreign ministers from the group of 7 industrialized nations, they came out in opposition against Russia, describing their behavior as malign. I want to get your thoughts on that. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. For some reason, that paradigm which we discussed between Russia and China is being pushed aside in terms of Western behavior. And West, which was traditionally was pragmatic, interested in business, interested sort of in a good relationship, because business needs stability, business needs sort of kind of comfort. All of a sudden it became very militant, very highly ideological, ready to use military force anywhere, ready to threaten, challenge, bully, introduce sanctions. And these sanctions, they rock the markets. We know after they introduced some sanctions against Russia, Russian market collapsed. That's not good for anyone. And I think this is just, it's absolutely unproductive. And sooner or later, population of these Western countries would realize that their leaders are actually misleading them. They are just, escalating, all these hostilities, which not only can result in the war, but it's very bad for business, for travel, for kind of camaraderie, cooperation. The West is not showing the way how things should be done. Vladimir, I've got to ask you about the DPRK and the Trump administration strategy. It's obviously leaning on and appreciative of what China has done with regards to the DPRK, but at the same time, it's in need of China's help. It's also imposing these tariffs on China. Doesn't seem to be a lot of coordination within the White House in terms of how it's dealing with this. I wanted to get your thoughts on that as well. Well, I think Trump is a very difficult situation. What we should remember that he was actually elected, at least, a rational thinking population in the United States who elected him. They appreciated his ideas, of pragmatism, of making deals. That's what he was saying. He wrote his books about making deals. So everybody expected him sort of to start making deals. Of course, he understands that, it's very good to make a deal from the position of strength. So he's trying to use it. I'm sure that sooner or later, had it been to his own, kind of devices, he would probably sit at the table and negotiate. And he's very grateful that things are moving ahead in terms of North Korea, because so far he didn't show much in terms of the results. But we also know that there are sort of, old establishment, old Washington consensus, which does want the ideas of sort of cooperation and multifocal world. They still want to think that, Trump has to assert its will, that America is still hegemonic power and she can dictate it. So I think, he gets very opposite messages, and that's why his behavior is erratic. By instincts, he probably want to make a deal, but there is a lot of pressure on him. Let's push China here. Let's do there. But underneath it, I'm sure that he is willing to negotiate, sit down, and talk to the countries.
Vladimir Golstein joining us from Brown University. Thanks so much.